Welcome to Tapping Wisdom. I'm Sue Padernacht, and I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Christoffel Sneijders, who is a master certified coach with the International Coach Federation and has multiple certifications in neurolinguistic programming and other coaching systems. He is also a professor at Georgetown University and the IE Business School in Spain, and is the developer of the Three Brains coaching system, which teaches us how to understand and align our head, our heart, and our gut. And I
Yes.
had the pleasure of seeing Christoffel present at an ICF, International Coach Federation, session a few years ago, actually during COVID, on an online session. And I thought, well, when I get the opportunity, I'd love to learn more about the neuroscience side of coaching. So I decided to get certified in his system this summer. And it's just my delight to welcome you, Chris, to our podcast, Tapping Wisdom. And I'd like to open it back to you to hear about a little bit more about your background and how you came to do this work. And let's talk about Three Brains coaching.
Love to. Thank you so much, Sue. Yes, and it was a huge pleasure to have you in the training because I still know we're a small group.
Yes.
And what's the beauty of a small group? You can really get it, make it more personal. Then you can go really deeper. And besides, we had lovely people in the group besides you, really all who blended in as one group. We really went deep, so we could really go deeper. And that is fun for, of course, you, but also for me, because then you
Yes.
can challenge actually all the things that are there, and you can also make it more understandable. Who am
Yeah, we
I,
all
dear
got individual
listener?
coaching from you. It was incredible.
Yes, yeah. So, who am I? You already said a lot of things. Yes, I studied many things from NLP, somatic healing, energy healing, Reiki master, constellations, neuro-linguistic programming, perfective coaching, blah, 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 constellations, clinical hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, coaching. Yes. Why? Why would you do all of kind of things? Now, and what brought me then actually to Three Brains is from a long time already, I was always curious who's in charge of us. In the old days, we learned you have a pyramid or you have an ice cube that's in the water. Above the water is our conscious mind. Underneath is a subconscious mind that is 90% that's in charge of everything. And if you go to the average hypnotherapy school, they still do it. If you go to coaching school, they still talk about that. And what always, and maybe it's because I studied commercial engineering, I always thought, okay, that's nice. So we have 90% is in charge of us. Where is it? So when I asked the first time to one of my teachers, I said, where is it? He said, yeah, it is there. And he pointed out his whole mind and body. And I said, yeah, that's a lot. Where? Where in that whole? And of course, nobody knows because the subconscious mind is something like then he said, it's a metaphorical idea of who's in charge of us. I said, but a metaphorical idea cannot live inside us. Somewhere physically, energetically should be inside us. We should be able to pinpoint it out. Maybe not. Now, move go 20 years in speed ahead of since I started coaching 27 years ago. In one of my courses I followed, and it was in the moment I was really busy with doing all the kind of things from Joe Dispenza, Robert Dilts, Stephen Gilligan, what's his name? Peter Levine. I hit somewhere when they all were talking about all the kind of things. I was reading also the book of Lynn McTaggart, and in her book, The Intention Experiment of Lynn McTaggart, she writes, we have three brains. And while following all those courses of all those people, I think we have three brains. So I asked Peter Levine, I asked Robert Dilts, Stephen Gilligan, hey, I read we have three brains physically. Is that true? And yeah, probably true. Yeah. What does it mean? Robert Dilts was the most. He said, yeah, we have it. And Peter Levine said, yes, we have it. And then he said, even in one of my books, I also wrote about it, that Ivan Yankovic once wrote about it. We are originating from the gut and then goes to the heart, to the head. And I think, oh, frick, it's really scientifically proven. And then somewhere all the light bulbs went on. Van, if that is really true, it means we have maybe an answer. What is that 90% underneath the water? Now, and if you then Google it, you almost hit Google with zero searches found in that period of time, because there was not a lot written about it. I could find some, and I started to play with it and actually developing it. And after 2 years, I became aware that there was actually a book written about it by Grant Suluku, who wrote Multiple Brains. He even delivered a training about it, but pitifully, when I was writing about it, he got pancreas cancer and he died before I even could really talk to him physically. But it gave me actually all the tools from yes, it is. Yes, we can, as one of your presidents once said. And from that moment onwards, I just started to push even farther forward. So I put it in my clinical hypnotherapy, psychotherapy training and NLP training in Australia. Started to play with my students with it, started to play with my clients with it. And it worked. And I thought, wow, it goes quicker than normal hypnotherapy. If you add this, it goes quicker. Hey, it goes quicker. If you do it in NLP, it goes quicker. Oh, wow, 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 wow. That's great. Now, 5 years ago, when I moved to Spain, or also in your COVID time, and all the borders closed and I could not go to Australia, I was sitting in Spain and think, oh, how am I going to make money now? Now I cannot go back to Australia. And I thought, if I now take my training, I transform it to an ICF, International Coaching Federation accredited training, I can teach it coaches. And from that moment onwards, now, that's when you start seeing me, I started pushing it there. Now, that's my journey. What is now the beauty of the three brains? And I just spoke before this with somebody who loved it and said, yeah, we have heart math and the heart brain. I said, yes, isn't it amazing that in the 90s, beginning of the 90s, so that is actually 30 years ago, dear listeners, scientifically, Western scientifically, it was proven we have a brain in the gut, 500 million brain cells. I don't talk about the gut bacteria. I talk about the nervous system, the brain cells in the gut, 500 million. And even a couple of years before, Andre Moore did a research study and said we have 100,000 brain cells around the heart. And both of them can act independently, can remember, can make decisions, and can do things. People think, you're crazy. I say, dear people, Google heart transplants and change in people. And you will find massive research that people got a heart transplant, actually memories, behaviors, habits, likes and dislikes are transplanted. If the heart does not have a brain, doesn't have memory, please explain me how that can happen. The heart
Yeah, that's
does.
pretty amazing. So if we could go back to the gut for a second, and then maybe we
Yeah, of course. You,
come
you,
back to
you
the heart.
steer it, because I can talk hours about it,
I
as you
know,
know.
I
So,
know.
you're
So
interesting.
all of us have, every human being has had a gut feel for something that they couldn't put
Yeah,
words to, right?
yes.
Everyone has said, that made me sick to my stomach
Yeah,
to think about X,
yeah,
that happened to somebody that was terrible,
yeah,
right? Or I have my sense of
yeah,
someone is that
yeah,
they are kind and
yeah.
friendly, right? So it sounds like the neuroscience that came about 30 years ago started putting, the what is it
Yeah.
into our experience of it, throughout humanity, right? Throughout the history of humanity. So talk a little bit about that.
Okay, of course. So it makes sense. It just makes, and because you did my training. In my training, I show you a sea cucumber, as you know.
Yes.
Now, why a sea cucumber? Because actually it is a living intestine, if you make it simple.
Yeah.
Every cell in our body is actually, nutrition go in, waste material goes out. The simple forms of living entities on this earth are actually digestive systems. We all originate from a digestive system. If you think about that, it makes sense. The gut is extremely smart, because that sea cucumber, why do I use it as an example? It can reproduce, otherwise it would not be found in every sea in the ocean here. It can fight off predators, otherwise it would not exist anymore. It can find food, otherwise it would die a hunger death. So it has and it doesn't get sick. So it has an immune system. So it has all the capacities to live, to thrive. Where's our immune system located? In our gut.
Mhm.
So that old wisdom that sea cucumber has, we still have it in our gut in a different way. but we still, where a sea cucumber can sense, oh wow, that little sea animal is not friendly, let's do something. Our gut can feel the same and think, oh, that person there, no, that doesn't, it doesn't, but they say that it doesn't smell good. And it's not physically smell, but it is somewhere, it doesn't smell good, but this the smell is connected with the gut because your
And
tongue, your
we refer
nose.
to it as intuition sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Some people talk about their gut feeling as intuition.
now, yes, like, for me, intuition, the word intuition
Yeah.
is always gut related, but your
Mhm,
heart also has an intuition.
mhm,
It
mhm.
has an
Oh, yeah.
intuition to fall in love with somebody, to hate somebody, to connect with somebody, to sit close to somebody, not close somebody. It has the intuition, where do I find my cuddle? I have a dog, as you know.
Yeah.
His heart knows where to get the cuddle and when to get the cuddle. So your heart has a different kind of intuition. The gut intuition is much stronger because it's based on survival. If you make a wrong choice, not now, but say now even in LA, if you walk in LA at 2 o'clock in the morning and your gut instinct says take the street to the right, well, you actually should take the street on the left, you could have an issue, as we all know, but that's in all major cities. But 10,000, 100,000 years when it was invented, a wrong route could mean the tiger would eat you,
Mhm, right.
or you would not find your tribe back. And so your gut instinct became extremely sensitive what's happening and
So
responds
when we talk
earlier.
about emotional intelligence, right, and we talk about emotional composure, when people have an initial reaction that is fight, flight, or freeze, right?
It's the
That suppression is really other systems, heart and brain, kind of managing the gut, which is why it's so hard because it is about survival. That makes so much
absolutely.
sense.
But absolutely, to add on that,
Yeah.
um, your gut and your heart are friends of each other. Yeah, when do we feel sad? What is a lot of therapies according to the Big Bang and friends? Chardonnay, ice creams, and all that kind of stuff. And so the gut is an extreme rescuer also when we feel sad and the heart brain has an issue.
Mm.
That's how they work together. If the heart feels sad, and now the heart is rather important. If your heart doesn't work anymore, you have an issue, a serious issue, as I know. That's how your gut steps in to save it. So they are really close together. So a lot of people say, "Oh, my gut says it." Sometimes your heart says it. I was just talking before this to a client, and she had something like a food reaction since half a year. She got some um, homeopathic drops. So one out of it, one drop on 10,000 systems. So it's actually almost drinking water with one molecule of something else in it. Since then, she's already 8 times or 7 times with the ER because she has almost issues that she get heart palpitations and all those kind of stuff. But physically doesn't make sense because from homeopathic drops you don't get any so much strong reactions.
Mm.
Something is now anyhow. From there we start to
Yeah.
talk,
Yeah.
and she said, "Yeah, I went to all therapists. My gut. They say it's my gut, or maybe it's about what happened when I was a child, or when I was in the womb, or maybe ancestral clearing stuff." Okay. So we're just talking, and while talking to her, and she did the test, became aware actually her heart brain is massive dominant, you know, and in the protected test, a little bit pleaser, approval seeker, and those kind of stuff. So her heart is rather strong in making connections. So I said, based on that, I would say, I said, I don't know what you have because I cannot predict like all the other therapists did, but if they had it right, it would now be solved. So I said, I don't know. But I would say it's not your gut. He said, not my gut. I said, no, your gut is active, but it's actually communicating because I think your heart has an issue. And she said, her eyes were big. That makes so much sense.
So you're
The
talking
son,
metaphorically,
no,
physically,
no,
both?
no, no, so physically. So the heart said, no, 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 not physically, I don't have, but her heart has something like, she said already, I lost my calling, I lost my things. She had some
Mhm. Oh.
relationship thing. So her heart
She
was
was
actually
heartbroken. She was
the
heartbroken.
heartbroken, the
Yeah.
heart was
Sad.
deprived of the zest of life.
Hmm.
So the gut was actually now, she had twice already almost burnout. It gave me the clue
Hmm.
that the gut is now actually rejecting food to give for an answer, you have to do something. If you had already 2 times almost a burnout and you don't listen to all the signals, I'm getting sick. Yeah. The autoimmune system, because they said probably your cortisol levels went to sky rise before your burnout, and after your burnout, your cortisol levels are underneath the water. He says,
The
yes, how do you know that?
cortisol is released from the gut, right?
Yes, that is adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. And it is not the stress hormone, dear listeners. It's not the stress hormone. It's not the stress hormone. Say it 3 times, otherwise they forget it. It's the energy hormone. If you wake up, get out of your bed, you get a huge cortisol spike because it releases all the energy in your body. So yes, it's also needed to be stressful, but it is not giving stress because they need adrenaline and probably sometimes testosterone with it.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
cortisol levels were so down because if you go to a burnout, you actually overperform. And why do you overperform? Because you like to get appraisals. That's a burnout.
Yes,
So the
absolutely.
cortisol was running on high rise for the last years. A burnout means actually that the adrenal gland says, do it all by yourself. I've been working 2 years in a row to squeeze all the cortisol out. I'm tired.
Mm.
And then the cortisol levels drop crazy. People feel out of energy, don't get out of bed anymore, cannot sleep anymore, are stressful because the whole body is out of balance. So I said, probably cortisol levels are totally down. I said, how do you know? I said, that's a common pattern. I said, oh wow. I said, but then I dare almost to say 80% is not your gut who's the issue. It's your heart is the issue.
So that's a really, really great example of what we're talking about. So I love how you make the distinction between the gut, which is about survival,
Yeah,
that fight, flight,
yeah,
freeze, and the heart, which is
yeah,
about connection,
yeah,
right? And the brain, the head brain,
yeah,
which is the analytical, right? Which is
yeah,
always last,
yeah.
right? So that's what that so it's really the head brain that catches up last to what the heart and the gut are experiencing kind of below that waterline that you were
But it is,
talking
but
about.
so if you now think about it, uh, our head does an amazing job. I don't like to dismiss the head because people
Yeah,
think, oh,
yeah,
it's all about head.
yeah,
The head is freaking amazing, awesome.
yeah,
But just imagine you feel something in your stomach, and you're say just having a run for a flight that you have to take, and you
yeah.
feel, uh, then you could be nervous of being late and missing your flight.
Yes.
But you can also have but just imagine it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you didn't have lunch up to now, and your breakfast you skipped your breakfast. Then probably the same feeling could be hungry.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
if you then see somewhere a really person you really like, you could even feel some butterflies. Your stomach can give almost the same sensations, and our head is doing its extremely best to put that sensation it gets a signal from in a context and say, in this context, it probably means this.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's not always true how it is coming. So the head brain does an amazing job in putting, say, your sensations in the right context, but it's not always correct.
Mhm.
Therefore, the head is a lot of times last
Mhm.
because you don't see your airport. Yeah, maybe you can think, oh, I will be late, but the fear for flying comes from a different kind of system. So it is there. Sometimes the head can be extremely important because if we like to relax and we do breathing exercises, they're initiated, you could say, by the head. Yes, your body knows, and research shows your body actually goes already in action before the head gives the direction, but that's a totally different discussion. Then we go really in. But by direction of the head, what we also do meditation, you can alterate your body.
Mhm.
But every experienced meditator knows it's freaking difficult to get your head silent. Hey, you live in California, the country of Zen, the country of meditation. Go to all your
Well,
gurus there.
some places anyway, some
Some
places
place
not
I
so
know,
much.
some place not all of it. But in the States, that's more the place.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and every teacher I saw once there says it's really difficult because even for me, I already do it 20 years, Chris, thoughts come in and I just do my best to let them out again. So the head has a difficult job because it gets so many impulses from the body and from the outside world. That's why we close our eyes because the eyes already get 10 million bits of information every second.
Mhm, mhm.
And so your head is extremely important and it has its limitations.
Yes, absolutely. And what's also very helpful, and I want to start shifting into some of the coaching implications for this. Whether you're on the receiving end of coaching or you are a coach yourself or considering coaching as a career option, this really is putting more neuroscience and tools that are based in neuroscience onto what we've been saying is the mind-body connection since for many, many decades, right? So talk a bit about the coaching implications for
It's
that.
a beautiful point. Now we both
Yeah.
did it, so we know. But when you talk about coaching in this part and what makes the huge difference, most coaching schools and also if you go to therapy schools talk about talk therapy.
Yes.
Now, and you know what is the only part in our body that knows words and language? It's our beautiful head. And if people think, is that true? Then I would say, yes, just look at every animal around you. You become aware, oh, wow, yes, makes sense. So you need vocal cords there. You need some more brain to start verbalizing it.
Yeah.
Your heart and your gut don't know words. Your gut instinct, gut feeling doesn't say, hey, dear Sue, maybe you should leave the Chardonnay away and why don't you take just a sparkling water? It doesn't say this. It doesn't say that to me. I don't know how it's used to, but it doesn't say that to me. It says, yummy. Or it means I feel something like, oh yeah. Although red wine. Anyhow, so coming back from it to series, so your heart and gut talk in sensations. You can call it emotions, feelings, whatever kind of word you put on it. So when we start coaching, and we start asking questions, and in coaching you learn the powerful questions and all those kind of things, and it also have to be open questions. They're perfect, but most of them ask for logic. How would you do this? That's actually asking for process steps. Process steps is head brain.
Like the
Because your heart
grow
and gut,
model. A lot of
yeah,
people know the grow model,
yeah,
right?
the grow model.
Goals, reality,
Yeah,
action, steps. What are
like
you going to do
and
next?
everybody
Right?
who once fell in love knows your heart
Yeah.
doesn't follow a grow model. It just falls in love and says, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
They talk to 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not a grow model. That is asking for being sleep deprived.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah? So your head is the only part in that, and also your head is the only part that knows present, past, and future. So it can do a cause and effect analysis. So it makes sense to ask those questions, but it misses one thing, and it is actually what we learned and what we stored say what was really important for us for our social bonding, not being rejected, or for survival means. And survival also can be not getting a slap from your dad or your mom because you got a bad score in school. Or whatever, or even worse.
Well, because that has implications later in life for,
Yeah,
for dealing with failure
yeah,
and
absolutely.
mistakes,
Yeah.
right?
If you think,
And how we cope with it and recover from it and resilience and
absolutely,
that whole thing. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
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 If you think about, say, all the trauma and other kind of work, everybody somewhere knows nowadays that trauma is also held in the body. And you can logically understand why 10 years ago that neighbor was really a big F,
Yeah.
but still it hurts. You still feel it. You can still get angry.
Yeah.
Although logically you say, he's not there anymore. I moved cities. I never see him again and still get angry. Why would I still get angry? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The head knows it doesn't make sense, but the heart and gut say, oh, I still
Yeah.
don't like it, especially the gut.
Yeah.
So it keeps it there. Now, in the coaching, if you now make it, say, less serious, why does a client procrastinate? Why does they have an issue actually to speak out to the boss that he or she does not like that? Why is it hard to have a serious conversation with your employee that he or she does not fulfill his or her tasks? Why is it hard to accept a compliment? Why is it hard to give a compliment? All
Yeah.
those things are not logical.
Yeah.
If you read the book The Trust Factor from Paul Zak, or
Yeah.
the 7 Habits of Stephen Covey, or Emotional Intelligence, it all makes sense. Why don't we do it? Because the heart and gut say, yeah, that sounds maybe logical, but I learned some time ago this is not wise to do. And because they don't know time, they cannot say, oh, I learned it was when I was 8 years young. Now I'm 45.
Mhm.
Maybe I should start forgetting it. It's 37 years later.
Mhm.
Because for the heart, it's still now. For the gut, it's still now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
that also gives the answer why the way in post-traumatic stress syndrome, why the post-traumatic stress syndrome is alive. In the head, actually, the awareness part of time gets somewhere blocked. So the body lives what it always does in the now. And the head cannot say, oh, it was so much time ago. Now, when I go back in coaching, so when we like to coach people to actually to move forward, what we do in coaching, what keeps them stuck is not the present. What keeps them stuck is something they learned in the past as useful. A pleaser learned it is nice to please because mommy, daddy, my sister, my school teacher, whomever likes me, or get an extra cookie from grandma. Only what was good 30 years ago, not handy now anymore. So to make that person, then when we coach him not to be a pleaser, to make it negative, not to be a pleaser, actually to stand up and to say, I can say yes or no, I can set my own boundaries, I can say what I want, means we actually have to disconnect that pattern he or she learned 30 years ago. And they say, oh, we become a therapist. No, we don't have to become a therapist because as the heart and gut live in the present, you don't have to go to the past. You don't have to know what happened 30 years ago. Maybe only the context. Okay, mommy, grandma, cookie. Okay, we know enough. And you can change it in the now, because in the now, if the heart knows now, oh, it's not needed anymore, it drops it right away and can go to the future. And then you see a massive change happening with your clients. Because in that moment, when that pull from the past is not there anymore, they can just move forward. It's almost like you're with an elastic band around your waist, tied to the wall, so you can move forward. We just cut the little tie, and we can move.
Yeah. And so what's so helpful for about this for those of us who are coaches but not therapists, and this is the way I've framed it. You've heard me say this, is we deal with mental health but not mental illness, right?
Yes.
So everyone has had past experiences that echo from the presence of the past. Everyone has that. And we can deal within like one standard deviation of those emotions and those connections. But once it starts to get into some clinical, from mental health to mental illness, then if we're not therapists ourselves, then we need to refer that out, to somebody who is a licensed therapist in some way. So, but within that, there is still a lot of work that can be done very successfully, when it's just within that normal range of human experience, right? That we all bring with us.
And what you say so beautifully, we all experienced something. We all had somewhere betrayal. We all had divorce. We all had a breakup. We all had a slap. We all had failure. We all had success in different deviations. But the beauty is how it deals with it. There's a book of Edith. No, I lost the last name, by the way. It's called The Gift, and she's a psychologist, survived the Second World War as a Jewish lady, and she came to become a psychologist when she was 50, the book of Viktor Frankl, The Man's Meaning. Anyhow, in her book, she shares a story of two ladies who come into her office. The one is crying because her daughter is diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And everybody says, oh, yes, makes sense, she's crying. The second person comes in and is crying because her car is delivered in the wrong color of yellow. Then we could judge, oh, why are you crying about it? And what she says so beautifully, it's not for us to judge, because the pain for both people could be the same based on their system. So where you could say, oh, the first one has to go to a psychologist and the other one we can handle this. We could maybe do both of them, or maybe not both of them. Maybe we can do both, or maybe we can do none. But it's actually, how do we deal with it? It's extremely hard to make a line. Extreme when you're really totally out of line. Is it really a mental illness or a mental issue? And as most times, it's client oriented.
Yes,
so in that part, again, the beauty is of the methodology of coaching, when you talk about 3 brains, it's not therapy. We're not diving into the past. We're not rewiring the brains and the memories, what happened. We don't like to know what happened. The moment you ask what happened and let them explain it, it rewires, it retrains. It's actually say, can you do those 10 squats again? And what do you do if you do 10 squats again? You train your muscles. We don't like to ask the client, do 10 squats again. We say, okay, what did you do? Squats. Okay, that's enough. By saying that the client says it did squats, it does not train the muscles. We just know it did squats. That's enough. And from there, in the present, we can move the client forward that instead of doing squats, they can do push-ups. I don't know,
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I get the analogy. And
Yeah,
again, this
so
is for coaching. For people
yeah, for
for whom
coaching.
it is more traumatic and it's
Yeah,
creating severe depression or anxiety, then that's more candidates,
yeah,
not for coaching, but for
and
therapy.
even then,
Mm,
also being a therapist, sometimes I like to challenge it
mhm,
because who is for us to say how strong or how easy it is to solve?
mhm,
Of course, if somebody is really borderline schizophrenic, etc., and on hard drugs, yes, then please keep your hands off it and send them to whomever it is.
mhm.
Also, because the results or the consequences of helping a person get could be severe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
If they
absolutely.
go on remission or kind of stuff, it could be horrible. So I don't
Yeah.
like to touch those kind of
And I
things.
think this is an important
Yeah,
part of this podcast to just be clear about because
yeah,
it could be tempting, for people who are,
yeah,
especially who are newer at coaching, to dive into that. And,
yeah,
at least if you're ICF
yeah,
trained and you're not a therapist, that really
yeah,
is a place for us to go. But there's plenty of room for us to go. And that's what I love about the
yeah,
three brains process is there's so much work that can be done for so many people for who are within that one
yeah.
standard deviation.
And
It's just living experiences and helping people to
absolutely.
process.
Like
Yeah.
I would say almost everybody in the workplace with 80% of issues, we can do a perfect job. Yes, and people who have a severe burnout, it's good to send to a therapist. And for me, the main reason is if you're not comfortable with working with it, and what could be the effect if you don't do a good job.
Yeah.
Like if somebody says, I have an issue with giving a presentation, you get totally nervous, Sue. The
Sure.
worst thing maybe that could happen is that they pee their pants. Now, okay,
Oh,
it's rather horrible, but okay, we can survive that one. Or they
yeah. It's
or they just block.
mortifying.
Yeah, or they just block like what is it? Eminem shows in the movie The 9 Mile that they just block when he likes to do a rap. That's the worst that can happen, but you don't die from it. But if you're having a severe burnout, and you then do a mistreatment, the person really could have serious effects of that. So it's actually more, what are the effects if we do a bad job? And that also is somewhat question, can we work with it? If
Yes.
the results of a bad job are severe for the client, then keep your hands off it. But
Yeah.
having said that, coming back to three-brain coaching, because we help the heart and the gut, and 80% of the issues we see are actually connected with the heart and the gut based on previous learnings we had, we can do massive jobs. We can do amazing things. And quicker, better, long-lasting, extremely happy clients. That's why I love it.
Hmm.
One, I love quick. I don't like to see a client 20 times if I can see him in 5 times. Secondly, I spoke recently with an HR director I worked with 6 years ago. And we just had a chat and a coffee because he now lives in Madrid. He said, how are you doing actually with that thing we once had? He said, Chris, I never thought about it anymore, never did it anymore. I said, it's so strange. I had it for 10 years. We had 2 sessions, and now 6 years later, we have a coffee. Still not.
Oh, that's
And
great.
and that is actually why I love it and actually would love that everybody learns it because it's so powerful, successful for your clients.
Mhm.
And if your clients are happy, they do a better job. They make less toxic workplace, so more happy workplaces because they don't lead from their own frustration, from their own fear, from their own anger. And if they don't lead from their own frustration, from their own fear, from their own anger, they become healthy managers, healthy leaders. And would not that be amazing if we have healthy uh, uh, leaders, if it's now in jobs or I just say it, or in political arena where they would not run from fear, anger, or frustration, but would run actually from love, compassion, and how can we make it good for everybody?
And the last Tapping Wisdom
Yeah,
recording that I did was with Helen
yeah,
Reese from Harvard Medical School, who
yeah,
talked about empathic leadership and how it makes such a difference in the workplace from a retention and and a talent acquisition standpoint. This kind of talks about how do you do that even at another level. And it
Yeah.
helps people who are really blocked from a heart place,
Yeah.
because empathic leadership
Right.
is leading with the heart. It's aligned, but it's leading with the heart, because that's all about connection,
Yeah.
right?
Like
It's not about being, too soft, and it actually is about helping people thrive and
I think
be at their best and to perform well. So it's a plus for the organization and for, and for the workers, and leaders all together.
like if you make it simple, like we are human because we have a gut to keep us alive, but that is not a distinction between the whole animal world because everybody has a gut.
Yeah.
What makes us more different is that we have a heart. So we are based for connections. And what makes us special, we have a head to start thinking about it. What do we do with our heart and with our gut?
Mm.
Do we dare to let them lead? And what makes us humans special is the heart. In that part, what is the biggest fear humans have, all of us, is rejection. Because if we get rejected, we die. If mommy and daddy don't care for us, we die.
Mhm.
Connection is our biggest fear in life and our biggest need in life. So
Mhm.
daring to lead from that with a head and with a gut makes so much sense. So I don't say lead only for the heart, please not, because you also have to say no, there's your gut in stepping in, but also have to make a decision. Is it good for tomorrow, next week, next year? Then you need a head for that.
Mhm.
But the heart can be in charge of it because without the heart, we're not a community anymore. And humans are community animals. Extremely
Yes.
simple.
Yes. Yes. So that's a really beautiful place to lead to my last question, which is always to ask you, what have I not asked that
Yeah.
would be interesting or helpful for my audience to hear, or you would just like to share?
Now, I could. I thought I know you were going to ask this, Chris. I know five things and then keep you another hour busy, so I will not do that. So you know me now. Now, the most
Yeah.
important thing I'd like to know: everybody, everybody can learn how their head, heart, and gut works. You don't have to be a coach, a therapist, or just as smart and beautiful as us, Sue. Kidding. No, no, everybody can learn it. So everybody who listens can say, "Oh wow, I've got a head, heart, and gut. I can listen to them. I can align them." You don't have to go to us to learn to align them because you already, when you were born, they were aligned. Our life make
Yeah.
them actually unaligned.
Mhm.
So you have it all in you already. You're already a beautiful diamond. The only thing is it got a little bit muddy. So the only thing you have to do is to wash the diamond again. So everybody can do it. And yes, of course, if you like to learn more, you go to Sue, you go to me, you read your book, you go to your blog, to your website. We love to help you. But everybody has the quality to do so. And the beauty of that is it will make your life healthier. It makes it happier. You live longer and healthier, and you get much more achievements and success. Because there is no sporter who does not have a passion, that's the heart, for his or her sport.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You need, of course, the muscles, the training, the etc., etc. But without the heart, you never run as quick as Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
You never tennis as good as Djokovic. You never drive as good as Max Verstappen. You
Mm-hmm.
need a heart to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thank you for sharing that. That's real. And to end on where passion for our work, our sense
yeah,
of purpose,
yeah,
right? And our sense of mission, our calling in the world, the impact that we want to make
yeah,
is all really coming from our heart, because
yeah,
it's what do we care most about?
absolutely,
What's
absolutely.
really about our drive is our gut, but it's really what do we care about that's coming
Yeah,
from our heart.
yeah.
Thank you,
You,
Chris. That was really great.
you could say
So how,
your gut makes you lets you do the step. The heart guides you where you should take the step. In your head says, if you take this step, think also about the other five steps you have to take.
yes, it's that's the strategist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So, Chris, if people want to learn more, how would they contact you?
It's extremely easy. You can use or my full name, what is impossible for everybody to do Dutch, Christoffel Snijder. It has a website. You type in Christoffel Snijders, you find my website. Easier is Three Brains Intelligence.
.com.
You type in threebrainsintelligence.com and you find me and you find the books and all the kind of other stuff, free stuff. You see the links to YouTube, and you can learn already without even paying. You can learn how to become the master of your own life.
Okay. That's terrific. And you're also on LinkedIn, correct?
Also, of course, also LinkedIn. You type in my name and or Three Bridge Intelligence. You also find it.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for sharing your wisdom with us. And
Thank you.
so
Absolutely.
this has been Tapping Wisdom, and thank you for watching.